Welcome to the Rowdy.com Scene Daily Big Three, your three burning issues in NASCAR racing today, live from the Charlotte studios with the marble table. Bass, we don't have marble tables.
No, we don't.
We don't.
But we do have two colleagues from SceneDaily.com, NASCAR Scene, NASCAR Illustrated, Chris Johnson, Jeff Owens, on Bassmaster Seas Buck Fever. That's a pretty formidable combination.
We need nicknames.
Yeah,
That's what we're missing.
Nicknames?
We don't have nicknames.
One of you guys could be Tweedledee.
And you're Tweedledum.
There we go. I like that.
We're like the front line for the
I
Charlotte.
already want a do-over.
All right, now, let's talk first big burning issue. The other day, an intrepid reporter by the name of Jeff Gluck was interviewing Jeff Gordon, and he said, Jeff, basically you've become a second-class citizen to Jimmy Johnson. What's up with this? Why are you a second-class citizen? And on his way out, Jeff Gordon said, ask the tech center. And Jeff just kind of wandered off, but then turned around and thought, wait a minute, what's he saying? He was saying that Jimmy's car has been impounded at the tech center, I think the last 3 weeks in a row, not back at the shop, but at NASCAR's tech center. So Jeff Gordon is insinuating that there might be something in that car that NASCAR knows about, but that he doesn't know about. Does that mean that the teams, the 48 and the 24, don't share as much as they really think they do?
I think that was just a lot of frustration spilling out of Jeff Gordon after finishing second for the second week in a row, and you realize he's got he's got two titles he should have won without this chase implemented. He's pushing 40 now. He's wanting that fifth title, and the biggest hurdle is Jimmy Johnson. I think it's just a little frustration.
Now, I think he's frustrated, but I think he also knows that they've got something he doesn't have, and he's a little ticked off about that, and that's probably been the case for the last 3 years. I think anybody that thinks it's an open book over there and that those two teams share everything equal is living under a rock.
You think Chad's holding out?
Oh,
yeah.
He's holding out. He's holding out, and no matter how big a buds Jimmy and Jeff are, I think Jimmy's holding out on him. I think they got something. It may be as simple as Jimmy's got one of the greatest crew chiefs probably in the history of the sport, and sorry, but Jeff doesn't.
Right.
That could be it, but I also think there's probably some technical secrets there and some little advantages here and there that Jimmy and Chad have, and I think they probably share as much as they can, but I think it's okay that they don't share everything.
Well, that's the thing. It's like Jeff Gordon's not exactly slow either. I mean, he's been second the last two races, so whatever they have over at the 48 team, it's just enough to give them an advantage. But I agree, it's good if there's some rivalry there, because what's the big problem we got right now? It's a Hendrick Motorsports fight between themselves, a little Juan Pablo thrown in there for a few weeks, right? So if those guys are at each other a little bit, if they're frustrated with each other, that's good for the sport, right?
You'd like to see a little bit more of that.
You would. You'd love to see more of that.
There's way too much gentleman racer out there. I mean, these guys need to be at each other a little bit.
Right, congratulating each other in victory lane. Isn't it great that the other guy won? Come on.
You know, if I'm Jeff Gordon and I've had my butt kicked for 3 years in a row against my teammate and one of my best friends, I'd be ticked off.
No, I don't think the Jimmy Johnson's going to be hanging out in the 24 karat diving in the off season. All right. Next issue, the Hall of Fame. Okay, it makes total sense. You know, the King. Okay, 10-4.
No brainer.
Yeah, Dale Earnhardt. Yeah, who's he? Fine. The France family. You know, you got Bill Sr. and Bill Jr. Great. I agree completely. Makes sense. The fifth guy. Now, over at Rowdy.com, we were rooting for the Silver Fox, David Pearson, but Junior Johnson gets the nod. You guys tell me why Junior over the Silver Fox.
Junior Johnson gets the nod because, of course, you factor in what he did as a team owner. 132 victories, 6 titles. He had 50 wins as a driver. But even bigger than that, I think, is the mystique of Junior Johnson. You bring in Tom Wolfe. You bring in this persona that transcends the sport and help build it to what it is today.
And I think the voters probably keyed in on that a little bit more than fans and the public on. Junior Johnson was a folk hero.
Yes.
He was the last American hero. Tom Wolfe made him famous for that. They made a movie about the guy. And, you know, he was a legend in moonshining and translated.
Good liquor, too.
He makes pretty good liquor from what we hear.
He does. Not that I know.
But, you know, all of that sort of put NASCAR on the map back in the road days, in the 50s and the 60s when the sport was trying to gain a foothold in the American conscience. And Junior was a big part of that.
Let's talk about those road days. You have a really good family story about Junior Johnson, do you not?
Well, that's true. My father-in-law one time...
moonshine.
No, actually, as it turns out, one time, for some reason, he and his friend who wrote a book about NASCAR got invited to go to the big breakfast that Junior used to have with all the guys. Only they got the day wrong. So they showed up, but the breakfast is on Saturday, and they showed up on Sunday, or vice versa. I can't remember which it was. So they show up there, and Flossie opens the door in her bathrobe, and they say, "We're here for the breakfast." And she's like, "You boys came on the wrong day. That was yesterday. Well, come on in anyway." And they go in and sit down and have breakfast at Junior Johnson.
Yeah,
So
they
there
say
you go.
can drop by most any day.
Exactly. And the thing is, you're right. He's not just another driver, which he certainly was a great driver and an iconic driver, but he was an owner, and he did transcend the sport in a lot of ways. And now you can headline next year's class with David Pearson.
And the other thing that sort of gets lost in the shuffle, he not only was a great driver and a great car owner with a great stats, he was a brilliant mechanic and just brought all this ingenuity to the sport.
He was to outrun them revenue.
That's right. He was famous for outsmarting NASCAR.
Right.
I mean, he probably cheated more than anybody in history and got away with it. He was the forerunner to Chad Canal.
Right, yeah.
You know, he was the guy, and a lot of people forget about that, but he outsmarted and outran the revenuers, and then he came into NASCAR and outran other drivers and outsmarted NASCAR. So, you know, I think Pearson's first on the ballot next year.
Absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit more about this year. A strange thing could happen. It probably won't happen, but on the way to the championship, there is a possibility. There's a possibility that, say, at Talladega, Mark Martin wrecks out, or Jimmy Johnson has a couple bad races in a row. Doubtful, I know, but if that were to happen, number 3, not Dale Earnhardt, but Juan Pablo Montoya could sneak his way into the championship, having never won a race on an oval in NASCAR. What happens if that happens?
He's the perfect foil, because just like you said before, Hendrick. I think there's a lot of people in the NASCAR tower over there that would love to see Juan Pablo win. Whether they're going to tell you that, probably not. Yeah. Just think what it would do for the Hispanic population, the inroads that they've made. And I think even if he doesn't win a race, I think it would balance out nicely for NASCAR in terms of new fans.
Boy, if he doesn't win a race, the fans are going to go freaking nuts.
The hardcore fans.
Yeah, they will.
And it's the hardcore fans that he's not going to be popular with. They don't want to see him win. But if he wins it and doesn't win a race, then they're going to be calling for Brian France to blow up the chase. The chase was created so this wouldn't happen. So you would not have a champion that didn't win a race or only won one race. This is a Matt Kenseth rule.
It is.
And Juan Pablo is sitting in perfect position to blow the whole thing up. And then we've got a mess on our hands because NASCAR is going to have to decide what to do. Hey, they made a tweak to the chase 2 years ago to put more of an emphasis on winning.
Right.
And now you got a guy that might win the championship without winning a race.
Well, you know, right now, if you look at the point system for any race at all, in the chase, out of the chase, there's still not enough of a reward for winning. There just isn't.
Right.
And I think, actually, if you take a look at the point system as a whole, there's not enough of a reward for top finishes, second, third, fourth, relative to what you can lose down at the back end.
Right.
That's kind of the problem, because what you're saying, Buck, is, Jimmy Johnson's going to have some big problems. When you finish down in the 30s and the 40s, you lose so many points. You know, if you go from 35th to 30th, you get more points than you get from going from second to first. You know what I mean? You gain more points for those positions. So where are the incentives in our system right now? They're at the back of the field. They're not at the front of the field.
Maybe this is what we need to happen. Maybe the whole thing, you know, NASCAR came up with a great idea by creating the chase, and they've been sort of tweaking on it as we go along, but it's not perfect. You know, just what you said is a big problem. Maybe we need Juan Pablo to win the thing and blow it up again and maybe start over or take it to the next level.
All right, on that note, Juan Pablo blowing up the chase. Stay tuned for another Rowdy.com Scene Daily Big Time Big 3 video. I'm Buck Fever. Fast Masters.
Jeff Owens.
Chris Johnson.
Kirk out.